Welcome to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, we're talking with Jenni Doherty about being an artist. Jenni studied to be an art educator and eventually ended up with her own studio in the southwest of Western Australia. Welcome to Forest Chat, Jenni.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you here, Jenni. Jenni, what type of artist are you?
Well, I'm a painter primarily, but I have had a textile art practice that I've mostly kept to myself, not put into the world so much. And I really started as a printmaking major when I was doing my arts degree. So printmaking is incorporated into my painting, mostly for texture and hidden secrets, I guess.
So there's some of the messages behind what you've...
Yeah, my work is known for being particularly layered and complex and quite textured, and some of the things you can't see until you change where you're standing and the light gets hold of it. And whilst my work is primarily considered very decorative, there are lots of things underneath and lots of other things that start the work, or ideas or feelings, whatever, but they're not necessarily things that need to be in your face. So they're underneath bits that I know about, and some people get straight away and some people never know.
So
a bit like us.
A bit like people.
Very like people, yeah.
So that's very interesting about how there are lots of layers, and the layers come from somewhere. Where do they come from?
Why do I put the layers in there? Well, it's quite funny actually. Sometimes it's purely for aesthetic reasons, but then often it turns out it's not for aesthetic reasons. For instance, the painting on the wall behind me has probably 22 different layers of paint on it. It's not a colouring in exercise. So I build a base. I don't know where I'm starting when I build the base. I just put the base down, put the texture in, the printing in, flood the canvas with colour that may or may not ever show in the last painting. And I have a belief that everything you do matters. So you might just see 3 flowers and think that's the painting, but it's not a colouring in exercise. It's a building, solving problems exercise.
Solving problems exercise?
Oh gosh, painting is just a problem-solving exercise. And it's paint, so it doesn't matter. You can't mess up. You just paint over it. There's no need to be attached to that level or that state of the painting. And there isn't a single painting I've done, not one, and I do usually 50 or so a year, where I haven't absolutely hated it.
There is go through a cycle.
Every single painting has a point where it's not okay. And if you can get through that point, and I often tell my students that, if you can get through that point, that's when the magic happens, because you don't care. You are unattached to the outcome at that point. And that's when you try things that are more adventurous to solve the problems, use a different colour, use a different scale, use whatever to solve the problem. That's when the magic happens.
Right, that's interesting. How does it relate to flow? You know about flow states?
Yeah, I think they're a dream, flow states. They do happen. But in my world, it's quite hard. The only time I can really manage that is at night time, when there's no people around. And flow states are a little bit like having beautiful dreams. They happen a couple of times a year. I would suggest that there's more discipline involved than flowing.
Right.
In my experience.
Good discipline.
Unless you're there in front of it doing it, it doesn't happen. It doesn't flow, it doesn't finish it, nothing happens. So you have times where the flow happens, and that's beautiful. But if you waited for that to be happening, or waited for the inspiration, then it'd be a bit like the fridge, it would never get cleaned out.
And not cleaned out fridges
Well,
only hang around for so long.
I've learned to live with them for quite some time personally, but you can't do that with an artwork. So no, there is as much discipline as romance involved in this job. And people go, "Oh wow, you're an artist, and it must be so exciting." And I'm like, it is very lonely. And I know lonely has connotations of sadness. It's not lonely it's an alone thing to do, but you don't need people there to help you. I mean, it's not bad if they are there, but you don't need them there to help you. You don't talk to anybody for 15 hours a day. You wear dirty clothes most of the time, stretchy, comfy ones, to the point when you have to go out you can't even remember how to get dressed because you just want to wear the daggy, stretchy ones because that's who you are. So, yeah, the romance part I've yet to discover, to be honest.
That's interesting. Because, even from my perspective, you always think about it as being an engaging thing that you're almost like you're fully taken by it.
Oh, you are fully taken by it, absolutely. But it's not a romantic occupation. And it's certainly not a financially rewarding occupation. There is something else that makes you do it, and money isn't it. And if it is, then you really are in the wrong job. Yeah, no, it's something that I have to do. If I don't do it, I get unwell. We know that. We've experienced that. And there have been times, like for 6 to 12 months, where I haven't been able to work or interested in working or just not totally disengaged from it. And you can't try and work when you're in that state because you just mess everything up. You just got to, it's like life, it's like the tides. The tide's high and then the tide's low. And seasons change and things move and they flow. And you can't just produce I can't just produce 24/7, 365 days of every year. There must be an input. You need something to feed what you're doing, and you need rest. And if you don't get the feeding and you don't get the rest, you don't get the other bit.
Right. You've got to look after yourself in a lot of ways to be in a place where you can actually do it.
Yeah, and there's lots of things you can do to encourage it and support it, like repetitive crocheting, knitting, stitching, those things that are repetitive and pretty mindless. Something mindless and repetitive every day for an hour or so is very good. Meditation is really, really good. And going to see other people's, work, reading about other artists, watching their videos, seeing their exhibitions, listening to them talk. There's a lot of podcasts that are fabulous. Some of them are just amazing. And they're not even people the English ones aren't even people I know, but they're other people's solutions to the same problems. So supporting yourself and feeding and doing the things that you know make a difference are very important.
We're definitely into the second question, which is about what does it take. So
Sorry.
This is what you're talking about now,
It takes a
which
lot,
is fantastic.
Yeah. It also takes support of somebody to allow you to do what I do. I couldn't have bought a house. I couldn't have paid the mortgage. So without David's support in that respect and his encouragement, my artwork would have been probably way less prominent.
So there's definitely that element of being in a situation that's enabled you to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it. Well, I wouldn't be living here, put it that way. I might be living in the back of my car, maybe.
So that's the starving artist.
Yeah, Absolutely. The starving artist, shouldn't be starving, and recognition is happening very slowly but whenever the world gets into turmoil, there's more art sales. There was more art sales when COVID was on. There was more art sales when there was a recession on. People go to theatre, people listen to music, people do all of those things when the world is in a happy place. When the world is a happy place, they're busy counting their money and not so interested, I guess.
Yeah, that's the difference between STEM and SHAPE, isn't it? So STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and SHAPE is social science for health, the humanities and economics, or something along those lines.
I haven't heard the SHAPE word before.
No, people haven't, but it's super important that
I get really
society.
crabby about the STEM thing because you can't have science, mathematics and engineering without art. Unless people are exposed to experiencing art, to doing art of some kind and being educated in the arts, the evidence is huge. Without an arts education, your mathematics don't work. Without an arts education, you can't play music. Without an arts education, you can't read properly. And yet it gets put at the end of the day when the kids are all cranky and tired and no one else can be bothered with them. So, and also, I think, what's his name? He's an Englishman. He's a very famous educator. Sir Richard Kevin, can't remember his name, sorry. He has amazing books and podcasts and TED Talks about the state the world is in climatically and environmentally is more worrying, not from an oil and gas point of view, from the point of view that we are not teaching our children to be problem solvers and create thinkers, people who can think critically and people who have creative solutions, out-of-the-box solutions. Without that, the world won't survive. Doesn't matter how much oil and gas happens. It's about balance, and we don't have that. So as a teacher, as an educator, as an artist, it frustrates the living daylights out of me to see what we're doing to our education system.
It's going in a sad direction, is that what you're seeing?
STEM. Can't have STEM without the SHAPE, baby. It ain't going to work. And we're all not going to be in a good spot. So those kind of worldly things do concern me, and they are in a big way, especially now I've got 2 bright little grandchildren. It worries me way more than it used to. And so as a result of that, when we moved from Wellington Mills to the city, where we are now, from my 60 square metre studio and gallery space to my tiny 3rd bedroom in the city, not the bush, I decided in the process of packing the house that I could no longer do what I was doing. I needed to find a way to paint that was way more sustainable. And I wasn't washing acrylic plastic, down the sink or putting it in the environment anymore. And also that if I wanted to do big paintings like these and ones around me, to work on a painting like that one took about 5 or 6 weeks, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. And a lot of the time you're reaching to the middle to do something with a size 2 paintbrush for 8 or 10 hours. And I'm old now, so my neck hurt and my back hurt, and that wasn't going to be sustainable either. So if I do big now, I put 30 centimetres square maximum size pieces together to make big.
So you do not the mosaics.
I do panels. Just
panels. Right.
So this painting here, which you can't see, is one of my new paintings. And it comes from a shadow that I photographed every day for 10 years.
You photographed the shadow?
The shadow on my wall, and I sat on the balcony every morning with my cup of tea and the blue wrens popping around me, and the little olive tree was up against the window, and it had things hanging in it. and those things made a shadow on the frame of the window and the other side of the window and became a mirror. And it changed every second. Like, I took videos of when the wind was blowing because, of course, the shadow blew too. And they were like totems mirrored in the double frame of the window, and I incorporated some of those totems into my previous painting. But when I came here and I decided I was not going to use acrylic paint anymore, I looked at oil, which I really love. It's like you could eat it. It's so delicious, colour and beautiful. And I thought, yeah, oil is safe. Everything's natural. Nothing's bad. Some of the solvents smell a bit strong, but apart from that, it's pretty safe. So this painting here is made from eggs. So I taught myself egg tempera, how to make egg tempera, which was what Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel with, and most of the religious icons and all those frescoes and things in medieval times. So they've stood the test of time colour-wise and attachment to their surface for 2,000 years. So I've been using lots of eggs, but then I had to learn what I wanted to do, all natural pigments, but I didn't have time. I didn't feel like I had the time to investigate that yet. I just needed to learn how to make the paint and how then to paint with the paint, because it doesn't paint like acrylic or oil. It doesn't. You don't put it on the brush and move it around. You've got to float it on and traditionally, tempera was used for portraits and things like that, where they used a tiny brush and they just build up a layer after a layer. It's quite transparent. So I'm using it in quite a different way, and I've had to learn how to paint, how to walk again.
Like learning how to walk again.
No, exactly like learning how to walk. And then how to talk again, because it's a different language altogether. So getting that experience of texture and layer that you can see if you turn around and look at that painting, you can see the texture.
Yep.
On egg tempera is not something I've achieved yet. But I did a series of paintings of the panels, and then I thought, because I was really drawn to the fluoro colour as the warning to pay attention to the fact that you need to pay attention to what's happening around you. Things are going on around us that I don't believe we truly understand who's in charge of, and we need to be alert and trying not to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I think we just need to pay attention more to what's happening. And those colours wake you up.
That's quite a bright.
It's fluoro.
It's also framed in a way that actually
beautiful.
catches light.
It just glows. It's gorgeous.
Glows.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I did 5 panels, and I had lots of support from a friend at the Regional Art Gallery, and he gave me studio space in the process of moving house, which kind of worked, but I was moving and painting and learning something new and working from 9 till 4 instead of 9 till midnight, and it was tricky. Anyway, 5 pieces of work happened. They got put in the Southwest Survey last year and got second place, and the City Gallery bought 3 of the next part of my journey for their collection.
Nice.
So that was a really overwhelming, huge surprise, and it felt like the universe had gone, okay, we've got this, you need to keep going. But I found it really hard to back it up because I wasn't really ready. I wanted a good year or 2 to get good at what I was doing. It took me 40 years to get that good. And now I'm trying to do the same thing in 6 months. Anyway, I realised when it was time to apply for the exhibition again this year that I felt the pressure of the win more than I should have, and I'm not ready to do that. So I'm not doing that.
Not this year.
Not this year.
So your level of mastery with one medium hasn't transferred
It
as
must
you
have in
taught?
some respects. There definitely is carryover knowledge and muscle memory for the actual act of painting. But in terms of having control of the medium, no way. No way. Long way to go.
Interesting how you understand in yourself where you're at, and other people look at it and go, oh, that's quite amazing. And they don't see the subtlety of the difference. And
The subtlety of the pain. And also the things I've learned from doing that, though, and part of my decision wasn't just material based. It was based on the fact that in my previous last exhibition, the last 3 or 4 pieces of work, I know how to do that stuff. I know if it goes wrong, how to fix it. I know what people are going to like to a point. I don't paint for people, but there are some things that are absolute givens. I know how to do that. And I know how to do that at 67. I found the last exhibition, the last 3 big pieces, I didn't want to go in the studio and finish them. They were an absolute chore. It was like cleaning out the fridge. And I don't want to spend my life inside away from the sunshine and the world doing something that feels like cleaning out the fridge. So I thought it was time for a bit of a shake-up. And they do say when you get older it's good to learn something new, so hopefully it makes a difference. So it was my choice. I chose to shake it up. I could tomorrow go back and see what would happen if I tried to do that again. I don't know. It could be disastrous. But I don't want to. I drew a line. I looked at, in packing a house, you touch every single item in that house. Every slide, every book, every film, every picture, every album, everything I've ever done. And looked and could see the progression and where I'd come from, but realised I didn't want to stay there. I could stay there, but I'd rather, stir up my brain. I'd rather shake it up a bit and do something that's new and more difficult. I never realised it would be so new and so difficult. But that's okay. That's part of the process.
That's quite a lot that it takes you to do that.
Yeah. It is a lot. But then there's the other things that art teaches you that help you go on. And those things are how to be unattached to something. I've never had a picture in my head about what the painting's going to look like. People always say, do you know what it's going to be? And do you struggle if it doesn't look like that? I could guarantee everybody I've ever taught, if you have a picture in your head that you want it to exactly look like, you are never going to get there. It's not going to happen. Firstly, you probably don't have the skill. Secondly, you probably don't have the patience. Thirdly, you've got to go through all the shit first to get to the middle bit, and then you've got to carry on. Having a picture is a guaranteed disappointment. Surely we've all had a picture of how an event's going to be, or how a meal's going to be, or how a person's going to be. And how disappointing is that most of the time? If you go in with an open heart and an open mind, what comes from you needs to be respected. And if you don't like it, it's yours. You can burn it. I put plenty of paintings on the burn pile. I've had neighbours come and climb the fence and steal them before they got burnt, and I've had to steal them back and burn them because I didn't want them in the world. That was my choice. But I don't think having a picture's a good idea. So this learning is taking me places because I don't know where I'm going. I never knew where I was going. One painting, the last painting, something new happens in every single painting. Some new solution, some new colour, some new way of putting it on, some new some tiny thing that nobody probably even notices makes you go, oh, I could actually do this with that. And that's the next painting. So when you haven't painted for a long time, it's like pushing a snowball up a hill. It gets bigger and bigger, or downhill, I don't know which way does it go. But they just roll down. It's really hard word pushing. I call it pushing shit uphill, to be honest. It's hard to start. And so I used to always try and have a piece that was partly resolved that never went in the exhibition, so I had somewhere to go. But often I was so sick of looking at it, I didn't want to do that. So starting again when you haven't painted for a long time is really difficult, but you have to trust that it will come. Like the tide comes in, it will come. And it doesn't come in a blinding flash of light or a light globe it comes slowly and you can feel it. I've said this before. You can feel it coming, and if you turn around too soon, it will go away. So you have to sit. It's a very old idea that you have to sit and rock with the things that are important until they're ready to be born. So painting's taught me trust. It's taught me patience. I've done things that have taken me, those paintings over there, all of those marks on top are all painted by hand after the work was finished. So I've painted the painting and then I put a veil over the top of them with a number 1 brush. I know patience. I know repetitive. I know that eventually the thing will be finished and it will tell me when it is. And if you don't know how to finish it, put it somewhere where you walk past it and see it, or you sit with it and see it, but not looking at it. And one day it'll scream at you and say, put red here, or get rid of the blue bit, or turn me upside down. Every painting will tell you its answer if you wait and listen. It's like writing. It will always tell you the answer as well. So I've learned trust, I've learned patience, I've learned unattachment, and I've learned no expectations. And all of those things, when transferred to day-to-day life, make it a whole lot easier. Even though the pain's in the middle.
Yeah, the pain's in the middle. The learning is in the middle, definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jenny. We've heard quite a lot about what it takes you to be the artist that you are. We'll have a break now, and after the break, we'll have a look at what it means. We've heard what it takes, Jenny, to be an artist. Now, let's have a look at what it means. Jenny, what does it mean to you, your family, or the community that you are the artist that you are?
Well, I've often wondered if it means anything, really. Whether it would be any different if I was a cleaner or a... I don't have... My identity is seen by other people as an artist, but I don't think that's any more special than being a mechanic or a welder or a cook or a... I don't feel like it's special or I'm any different to anybody else. I do remember when my daughter was in high school, she was asked by her maths teacher, what does your mother do? And she said, she just stays home. So when I went to the interview, the maths teacher said, Saskia said, you're a stay-at-home mum. And I said, did she now? And it turns out she was equally surprised. And when I asked Sass about it, she said, people make such a fuss about it. How exciting. It must be so good having an artist as a mother. Rah, rah, rah. So for her, it was not a good thing in the slightest. For the community, I don't know. I think the broader community, the general community that I know, not much about, people know me. A lot more people know me than I know of them because of it. And mostly that's very lovely. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying, but mostly that's really lovely and quite heartwarming. The general community, I think, treats artists badly. If there's ever a fundraiser, they want you to donate a painting and you're the lowest paid person in the community, you need to be donated to, not. So that respect comes from the fact that you can do something they can't, but that's where it ends. It's not given. So now if people ask for something to be donated, I give them the painting for the auction and say, this is the price I want. This is half of what I would normally get. Or this is what I would normally get, and you can have, if you can get it to the price the gallery would sell it at, you can have that 30%. And most people are starting to learn that that's a fair way to treat people. You might have guessed I'm not very good with injustice. The students I have, I know that's one place I'm making a difference because they show me and they tell me and they hug me and they bring me cake and wine and laugh with me and tell me I've changed their life. That's probably the most gorgeous part of my week. And really, I don't know, my husband is very proud of what I do, but he's as much a part of what I do in the sense that he loves art and he loves artists and he loves going to see works and meeting people, and so he's a very big part of what I've done. I think that's probably it.
That covers the groups that I asked about.
Trying to tick them all off.
Yeah.
Have I surprised you with some of my answers? I'm not supposed to ask questions, am I?
I can just cut them out.
And you will. That's your right.
Actually, one of the most enjoyable things about the whole podcasting for me is that I don't always get answers that I anticipate.
No, it's an expectation.
Yeah, that's
disappointing
right, yeah.
or frightening or...
Well, I love it because it shows that there is a different way to think about things than how I simply think about it myself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it teaches me a lesson every time about humility, and my thoughts aren't the only thoughts out there.
And also understanding how other people's lives are gets you to look at yours and be grateful, I find, generally.
Yes. And me coming into this conversation, I'm sort of anticipating that and I don't want to push this on as your answer or anything like that, but you sort of anticipate that the art somehow connects people together, and you've come with a different response to that. So I'm like, that's fantastic. I love that.
Well, the art does, in a sense, like there is a fan club. There's some obsessive fan club members, and that connects them together, I suppose. I don't know if it does. I think I can't imagine a world without it. I can't imagine, and the idea of beauty is something that we have turned into a commodity now as opposed to a feeling of well-being and gratefulness for, and even our ability to see it in this world is compromised by consumerism enormously. And I find something that's got a hand in it that's visible. There are people who can see that still. There are people who can feel that still. And that's probably the biggest difference you make.
We've heard about what it takes Jenni to be the artist that she is. We'll have a break now, and after the break, we'll have a look at how you do it. We've heard what it means that Jenni can be the artist that she is. Now, let's have a look at how you do it. Jenni, if someone wanted to become their own artist, how would they go about it?
Oh, there's so many nice ways. You don't have to go the normal way. You just start. Just start. Certainly going to workshops where there's other like-minded people and you get support from those people as well, generally, in my classes at least. And there's a shared longing and a shared curiosity. That's always a really good place to start. In fact, I had a lady yesterday it was her very first art class ever. And terror is the look on most of those people's faces. So being brave enough to come is a good thing to do. And then discover that, you're not going to have your head bitten off and no part of you will die and it will all be okay, is really nice to see them go home relaxed and not teeth clenching and terrified. In fact, my last term's students did the most amazing work that I've ever seen in a class, and everybody at Stirling Street felt the same. So we had an exhibition and we called it Brave, because they were great big canvases and they had some pretty restraining things put upon them to get them where they needed to go. And they're all different. There wasn't one painting in the class that looked like another one. There wasn't 10 people standing up saying, this is my sunset. There was 10 very, very different pieces of work, and we called it Brave. So you need to be brave. That's what you need to be. You need to be brave. You need to be determined, energetic, a little tiny bit wealthy. You need some money because it costs money. The only money I've made has supported my habit. It hasn't bought my house, if that makes sense. So you need money and you need time. And it's a little like playing the piano, when drawing is such a big part of anything that I teach, and people just want to paint. But if you can't draw it, if you can't know it with your eyes and your hands, you're not going to be able to paint it because you've never painted before. At least you've had a pencil in your hand when you were little until somebody told you you were rubbish at it and you put it down. So picking up and learning to draw again, sitting drawing the cat or the snoring husband in the chair in front of telly or the pot plant is practice for your brain and your hand and your eyes. Don't judge the drawing, just do the drawing. The drawing, if you haven't drawn since you were in primary school and you're 50, your drawing's going to look like a 5-year-old's. It's not going to look like a 50-year-old's. How can it? You haven't drawn for 45 years,
You're going to knock a bit of rust off those connections.
But you'll be super surprised how quick that if you do the drawing of that vase of flowers or the husband or the dog or whatever it is you're looking at, how quickly that will improve over a month if you did it every day for 15 minutes. Blow your hair back. Amazing. The other thing is being accepting of what comes and patient with the fact that you have not done this thing before. But if you want to be an artist in terms of making your life's work, you just need to be exposed to everything. And unfortunately, the game has changed a lot since I was there. And I didn't do the traditional way of becoming a well-known artist, and that is going to university. I did go to university. I did get a fine arts degree and an education degree, but I didn't go in every prize and win prizes until I was known and a gallery asked for me. I was asked by a place down south called Cape Lodge, which is quite a fancy place to stay, and it was started by a lady called Jo, who was fabulous, and she wanted my work in her accommodation. And I was hesitant because dentists want your work in their waiting room, doctors want your work in their waiting room, people will buy it. If they're at the doctor or the dentist, they're really not going to buy it. It's not going to happen. And people who go to, flash accommodation are going to flash accommodation to maybe they've got money, maybe they're interested, maybe they're not. Anyway, she talked me into it. We had some really strict conditions, and I did the living lounge room areas and the entry hall to the building. It's particularly beautiful. And she sold all 6 pieces of work the first day she was open.
The first day?
The first day. She knew lots of very important people. She'd invited lots of important people to come and stay and get people talking about it. So I would get a phone call from Jo every Sunday night saying, guess what? I've sold 3 paintings this week. I've sold 6 paintings this week. I've sold. And it was wow. And so my work got out there where people talked about it, in houses that it was probably in awe of when it got hung on the wall. And so it's about getting your name out there. I didn't do it with the prizes in the gallery. I did it with the people. And she was a fabulous ambassador, and she could have sold fridges to Eskimos anyway. She was totally gorgeous and very supportive. And it got to the point where I had to say, Jo, I can't keep up. Because you couldn't leave the living room walls empty or the bridal suite without a beautiful painting above the bed. And so we came to an arrangement where she bought a very big painting, all the sizes we had. She bought one of each. So for once, I put that up until I could do the next one. And then she sold the property. So that was kind of the end of 5 or 6 years of amazingness. And that's really what, when she started to go nuts, that's when I resigned and spent time on my work.
Because you could then focus on it.
Yeah, because I knew that I had somebody who was on my side selling it. And it was lovely. It was really nice. And then I had an exhibition in Perth. You know, one of those people that went to Cape Lodge said, come and exhibit in my gallery. And that was really, really good. That was in Dalkeith, and that was very successful. And Yelling Up Galleries wanted my work, so I had numerous solo exhibitions there, and they kept my work in between time. And then I had an exhibition in Subiaco at a gallery, and I got a phone call from Linton and Kay asking me why I didn't go to them with the exhibition. And I said, I didn't think I was good enough. And Gary Kay said, that's my decision, not your decision. So that's how I became part of Linton and Kay.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're quite the...
So they came, yeah, they're the best place to sell or have your work in Western Australia. Yeah, they're amazing. And they're supportive and they like change and they're kind and they work hard at it. They're fabulous, yeah. So you can do it the new way, which is go to uni, go in every prize, be famous, or you can go out in the world and have a go. And I'm guessing, and as a result of me not doing it the traditional way, and because my work is so decorative, it's not full of angst and blood and guts, and because that's not who I am, although I'm beginning to think the world might be. My work has been criticised often, regularly written about, criticised as decorative. As soon as you say the word decorative, it's dismissed. But changing what I used and changing how I painted changed the description of my work. Because it sold well, because people liked it, because it was in fancy places, it was decorative, it wasn't serious art. It hadn't won the prizes. It hadn't been critiqued. I was just a decorative artist. So it's been a little bit of a chain, I suppose. And sometimes it's said in a way that is very derogatory, and sometimes, and I've had to look at it, particularly when another artist a few years ago tore strips off me about it in a really horrible way, so I didn't work for 6 months. And then I realised that I needed to have integrity. My work had to, if it was going to have integrity, it had to be honest. And it was honest. This is what comes. This is the way I see the world. And even though the world is complicated and grimy and violent and greedy, there's lots of nice things. I'd rather people walk into the room and feel a sense of calm and peace and joy at seeing something than being reminded of that yet again. So that's where it comes from.
That's a part of that letting go of what other people think about.
Yeah, what other people think about you. Because really what other people think is their business. It's not yours.
Mm.
So my son often said, do you worry about what other people think? And I said, no. If they love me, they'll get it. If they don't love me, who cares? My work speaks for itself, and it might speak differently to other people. I can't say how it will speak to everybody else. I do hate writing about my work. When they want you to do the artist statement, I think, I just painted this thing that's taken me half my life, and now you want me to write a book about it as well? Just look at it. Stand there and pay attention. It will be fine. So that's what it takes. Oh, there is one more thing you can do when you're looking to start. And there's a whole lot of people you can listen to. So listening to other artists be interviewed, like on Talking with Painters and Art Wank and Talk Art. Listening to other artists is amazing, even if you don't know them. It doesn't matter. And if you don't know them and you like what they say, you can be a fan. And so everyone in the world is influenced by something. Sometimes you don't even know that you were influenced by it until you see it years after. So there's a book called Steal Like an Artist, and it's hilarious, and it's written by an advertising guy, so it's a bit slick. But one thing's always stayed with me, and that is the work that you love, find out what work that artist loved and what work that artist loved. Go back, build the family tree about that person, because you're going to find your people by doing that. And that way you're looking at what you want to look at, and you understand how this goes to here and this goes to here and this goes to here over centuries. So that book, Still Like an Artist, has so many good things, and that's one of them.
Thank you very much, Jenny, for being on Forest Chat. All Forest Chat listeners wish you all the best with your future endeavours.
Yeah, thanks so much, Paul. It was fun.
Thank you. You've been listening to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and today's episode we talked with Jenni Doherty about being an artist. Remember, you can get involved with Forest Chat in 4 different ways. Share the domain Forest Chat with your friends and family and people you meet. Listen to the episodes at forest.chat/episodes. If you do something interesting that other people may also find interesting, book an interview at forest.chat/interview. If you want to support a small business, book an advert at forest.chat/advert. I'm looking forward to joining you with our next guest. Until then, enjoy making it happen.